welcome back, guys, to another episode of Coffee, Chaos, and Cash Flow.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to start off with some fun things that happened this week. I think for me, the one big thing was it was my daughter's 1-year-old birthday yesterday.
Woo! Happy
Had a lot
birthday,
of
Aaron
fun.
Smith.
Birthdays are always a good excuse to have some mimosas in the morning and kind of keep the ride going throughout the day. So that was great. We had family over. It was just a great celebration, super relaxing. And Aaron sent a cool little cute video, which appreciated. I have it saved in my phone now, so I can now play it
Nice.
for every birthday, including mine.
We'll send you another one. The next birthday.
You can get a cute video for my birthday, Aaron. I'm just saying.
We sent you a happy birthday video.
I did not get the cute video, dude.
We kind of flunked that test. All right. Well, I finished. I think it was this week. We finished the Bad Monkey episode one. So
Crazy.
very amusing.
You finished it the whole season, so we can talk about it now.
You have to go check that show out.
What show is it?
Bad Monkey.
Bad
Vince Vaughn.
Monkey. Okay.
Very, very good show.
Okay.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
I'm on my third rewatch of Narcos right now. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talked about that this morning. Yeah. Okay, so everybody tuning in looking for entertainment advice. Bad Monkey for TV, and then The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal is very funny.
Snowpiercer's also been really great. I've been loving that. I'm on the last season now.
What is it?
Snowpiercer.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Bueno.
Yeah. So Narcos. That's Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel and the Cali cartel and just all about.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that. I haven't watched it though, but I remember seeing it. Yeah.
And what's great about it, I mean, it's the audio is all in Spanish, but they have English subtitles. So
Okay.
for me, it's been useful in learning Spanish profanity, but
We need a quick Spanish swear word.
yeah. And then also my favorite one is this isn't profanity, but it's Pablo Escobar. He goes to cops and he's bribing cops, and it's plata or plomo, silver or lead,
Plata, but that's great.
plata or plomo. There we go.
Yeah,
So
good line.
now that we've gotten our drug cartel leader inspiration out of the way, let's go on to the podcast.
Let's do this.
So today we're going to be talking about just navigating the low points of entrepreneurship. I mean, last week we talked about the highs
and life.
And so that's part of it, like entrepreneurship, life, how do you handle those low moments? And so really, Aaron, what's been the most challenging low point that you've encountered while building a business, and how did you navigate through that?
One event that comes to mind that is, if not the lowest, really, really ranks up there, was having payroll bounce early on, and when I got into the commercial cleaning. So we went from residential to cleaning to commercial cleaning, and the cash flow required for that switch was entirely different than what I had initially expected. And we just had a bunch of stuff happen, and then payroll went out the same day as a bunch of other stuff, and it got returned. I got a notification, and that's the first time anything like that had ever happened. And I was just so blown away by it. I was like, "Whoa, crap! What does that mean? Does that mean, the payroll provider goes and pulls all that of the employees' bank account?" I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if it was just on my account and I could just get it. I had no idea. I just never experienced it. But it just happened. It was one day where just a bunch of stuff happened that whole week. That was a really rough day. And then I got an email from the bank saying, "Oh, this was returned." And I was just like, "Oh, wow, this is bad." This is terrible. And it was rough. It was also a very rainy / snowy, dreary day, and everything about it was just rough. So that was a very, very, very low point. And it wasn't even, in fact, in terms of problems that are hard to fix, it wasn't that challenging of a fix, actually. It wasn't really nearly as catastrophic as it seemed. But at that time when it happened, I was like, wow, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore. It was that severe. So I need to hang this up, or what's going on? So definitely a vivid memory.
And I
Yeah,
can see that being like just knowing you and how much you value the people that, you know, work for you in your companies. Like, I know one of your first concerns was like, crap, are these people getting paid? Like,
Yep.
are my people getting paid? Because these people are counting on me for the money and everything like
Mhm.
that. So,
Yeah, it's kind of similar. I would say the similar thing would be for me would be when I realized that a guy ran off with 20K and I needed
well,
to. And when you're in a moment like that, yeah, you're like you're stunned, but it's kind of like the emotion. You don't like. At least for me, I don't take the time to be emotional about it. I just know what needs to happen. I need to get the money somewhere somehow.
You got to move past it pretty quick
Yeah,
because the emotion stuff
I
you're
gotta
not
move.
resolved.
I think the lowest emotional low, my wife and I, we used to own a dance studio, and it's like one of the hardest businesses to do because everything is so tight, and you're being pulled by your customers, and you're trying to serve them, but you also need them. So it's like this weird, you have to almost do what they're telling you to do, or else they'll leave. Anyways, but the hardest part, the most hardest emotional low was when I saw this being detrimental to my wife's health. She would emotionally stress, and then the emotional stress would affect her body. And
Yeah.
so, and for me, I don't really know what stress feels like. I've, but anyway, I could see it being detrimental and we were going downhill. I knew that if I didn't do something like as the man of the house and like have to, because she was not going to make the choice. She was not going to let it go. She was not going to give it up. She was willing to like die on the flag, on the like die there, helping keep things going. And I was like, I knew this is not healthy. And it was starting to affect our own relationship too. I mean, it always was, but it was getting even worse. So I was like, have to do it. And it was so bad. But
Mhm.
that was probably the hardest, most emotional low I have ever experienced because
yeah,
I was also dealing with my wife and my wife's emotions. And it was very personal to her too.
exactly. So, what coping mechanisms or practices have you guys adopted to maintain your mental health during these lows, during these tough times? I mean, you know, they're on payroll bounces and you're like, are these people getting paid? What's going on? Eric, you've got the situation with the dance studio, it being, your wife is very passionate about it. It was her dream and everything. And just
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff is going on. Like, how are you handling this stuff? Because it never happens on like the best days ever. It's always like, all this crap happened and then boom, here's this.
Um, well, I can't speak for Sarah Jane,
Mhm.
but because we co-owned it together. So, but for me, I tend to, when something's not going my way, there's two emotions that you can decide. You can either decide for it to be anger or sadness, and you can go down one or the other. And like that's the energies and that you can do. And so for me, and yeah, you're still a little bit of both, but like which is your main direction? And it's always usually anger and frustration for me. Like, I'm not going to let this get in my way. I'm not going to let this stop me. Like, I push myself up, which is good and bad, but as far as like coping mechanism, it was basically like I need to find something else that's going to work. And we're closing the dance studio, but I need to learn something. And that's where the e-commerce thing came in. And I basically poured all of my anger, that energy into fuel to learn e-commerce, build the store no matter what, make it work no matter what. And that is what was going to, and I did it, and that's what worked. But there's the one thing you have to be aware of if you do that, though, is really make sure that that anger doesn't spill over into any relationships. And that's very hard, especially when you're that angry at something. It's really, really hard.
Yep.
So one of the things that I have done though is like I've tried to measure out if I'm really, really angry, then I need to go let out somewhere. So I'll go to like the gym and I'll punch on a punching bag or do something like that. Like I need to fight something. Like I need to get this energy out, but I don't want to dump it all out because I want to use some of it for fuel.
Makes sense.
And then the hardest part is, when you're co-owning, the hardest part too is when I'm really angry and my wife's really, really sad. They're both opposites. And you have to be there for her. And so I have to that was honestly the hardest thing, and it still is. One of the hardest things is when I'm really angry and I want us to bound together and actually like, let's go and do something together. But my wife is really, really, really sad and devastated and needs someone to cuddle her and help her and be there for her. And so I had to figure out how to like do that somehow. And I don't think I did like the best job, but I did my best. Another thing too is I don't understand her side of the emotional side as much as my own, and that's really hard. So, but as far as going back to the question of coping mechanisms, taking lots of walks, rethinking, trying to figure out what went wrong, how did it go wrong, and really trying to learn from it. I think the hardest and most frustrating thing is not knowing why it went wrong. And that is the most just infuriating thing for me. And I just can't, it's just, I hate that. But if I can figure it out, or if someone can tell me why it went wrong, like if I could figure it out somehow, then I'm good. But as far as like, coping mechanisms, you have taking long walks, praying really helps, singing, worship songs, praises. I think,
Ice baths.
Ice baths, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I can't really do breaks until I figure out why the low is the low. It's really hard to get it off my mind. Like I can't go on vacation, I can't go to a spa and just let it all out.
Have you ever been to one of those I don't know what they're called, like smash rooms or something, where you just go and they give you a hammer and you
No,
just like,
but they look so much fun. I actually wanted to go to one with
interesting thoughts on
the
those.
dance studio things.
Okay.
I was looking for one, and so I was like, Sarah Jane, this would be great for us. We'll go together and you just literally let it all out. You just let it all out. It looks dangerous though. Like
no,
it looks kind of dangerous, honestly.
I have interesting thoughts on that, but
chopping wood.
You guys have ever gone?
That's another great way of getting some anger.
Yeah.
Ask your neighbor, do you need any wood chopped? Just go chop some wood.
Start hacking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
What about you, Yemi? Do you have any coping mechanisms for your lows?
You're muted. Or your mic's not working. Oh no, you're just muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. That's another low. Great. So it used to be a lot of self-loathing. Like I would internalize a lot, personalize it, and personalize the low moment. What could I have done better? I should have known better. But then it's like I started looking at it like, okay, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I do is I try to make a joke about it, like, this sucks, but it could be worse. And, my wife will be like, well, how could it be worse? I'm like, well, I could be ugly, and we laugh and it just breaks that up. And it's like, okay, let's put it in perspective in the grand scheme of things. Like, and I had a pastor once say, in the light of eternity, how important is this? And that just really kind of just, whoa. Okay. So, inappropriate humor, that'll do it. Memes, turn on some music and dance. I have so Sesame Street came out with an album, and on it is a song called Born to Add, and it's based on the Bruce Springsteen song Born to Run. It makes me irrationally happy. So I put it on like the YouTube video, and y'all have to Google it, but it's this YouTube video and they're having a blast. The puppets are going and everyone's born to add, and it's a song about addition, and who cares, because it's just really happy, really funny. And it's hard to stay upset when it's like Sesame Street dancing puppets and like Bruce Springsteen covers. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's my Gen X moment for the day. So
noise.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you have something, Aram? I know you mentioned ice baths and everything.
I do it. Yeah, I just think you talked about laughing. I'm kind of like Eric in that I do not feel stressed emotionally almost ever. Like, that's not an emotion I experience. I have been stressed at times, but like as far as it like weighing and just feeling like, oh crap, that's a short emotional experience for me. But for people that do, or especially if you have a difference, like an emotion of fear, things like that, I do think laughter is about the quickest way out of it. Now, it's not going to solve your problems, and it's not going to like, give you a solution necessarily. But if you just strictly need a quick emotional shift, the quicker you can get to laughter, the quicker that can turn on. And it's different for different people. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't tell you this is like a prescription across the board. But for me, for sure, if I'm getting to a point where it's like emotionally somewhat taxing, if I can at least laugh, like genuinely laugh at something, then it almost kind of helps me snap back to it. It's like, okay, now let's go look at this. I get away from like the cloudy, like, oof, this is really somber stuff. So I think anything you can do to get yourself laughing, at least initially, helps you come back to the problem.
Yeah, for me, just personally, and I guess I would do it in business too, but personally, what I have done is just start thanking the Lord for the situation that actually happened. Thank you for allowing this to go wrong. Show me what I need to do. I know you're still in control. I know you still love me. Show me what I need to do, if I need to do something different. I want your hand to guide my life, and if this was the wrong direction, then thank you for shutting it down. That, I think, completely turns around. It takes the focus away from you and onto the Lord, which, is the creator of all things and knows all things. And, I think that's one of the biggest things too, is like in rough times, who do you turn to? Do you turn to yourself, or are you going to turn to the Lord who can ultimately work it out? And that's really a test right there. And so I can't say I've done that every time, but if I can remember to do that in that moment, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah, I call them the 828 moments, like from Romans 8:28. That all things work together for good to those who love the Lord, who are the called according to his purpose. And, this is terrible, but what's the 828 moment in this? Like, what's the good thing in this? And sometimes it helps, other times you're like, but really, like, again, in the light of eternity, does this matter? Okay, now that I've got some perspective on it, what's next?
Yeah.
So really, definitely good. So we've got some lightning round questions, gents.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
If you had to describe entrepreneurship in one word during low moments, what would it be?
The word I'm getting is fight. You got to fight for what you want. And the low moments is what that's where you either fight, that's where the people go to that's where the challenge is. That's what separates entrepreneurs from those who aren't.
True story. What is one mantra or phrase you repeat to yourself when facing a tough situation?
I always, throughout my whole life, So weird. I knew I was going to sing this song on the podcast. Anyways, there's a song that I've always sung, and the song's called "God Will Make a Way."
Mhm.
And basically, God will make a way when there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see, but he will make a way for me. He will be my guide, hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. And
Good stuff.
I've always sung that. And you have to, and yeah, so that's my go-to.
Mr. Street.
I should have started because we could have gone up for mine was Tough It Up Buttercup, but not as flower. Sorry to take you down off the What's your mantra, Yebby?
Again, man, it's very. It could be worse. You could be ugly.
Right.
Like that's that's it. So, well, gents, that's we've got another one in the books. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Coffee, Chaos, and Cashflow.
Thank you guys.
Woo! We will see you next.
Coffee it up.